Hey folks, I'm going to redo a video on these two tools, the Remington 473 and the Beto 691. The reason being is because I suspect that most of the backstory I've always been told on these tools is wrong. The reason being is about a week ago I went on the internet on eBay and decided to go look and see what was for sale in Germany. And in Germany there was two tools identical to this one, color and all, and even the shape of the nameplate, that had the Beto name on it, and it was called a Beto 690, the 691. So I suspect that this tool actually came from Germany, although it is possible that both companies got the tool from Taiwan. It just doesn't sound right to me. There is no country of origin on here. There are ways that you can get a tool into the United States without putting a country of origin on it. I'm not an expert at it, so I'm not going to go into it. But with no country of origin, it's hard to tell where it came from. The story was that it did come from Taiwan, and that Remington had the Speed tool made in Taiwan. Later on, Remington did have another tool. They did improve on this, and that tool was made in Taiwan. So that might have been what part of the story was, confusion on that, who knows. But anyway, I'm going to redo the video, splice the two together. It's better than keeping misinformation up. Desa Industries acquired the Remington powder actuated tool line in 1969. Early on, Desa decided to paint all the tool handles blue. Thus, any Remington tool model you see with a blue handle was manufactured or at least repaired by Desa Remington during the 1970s. They also at that time started looking for a more modern low velocity tool that was easier to operate than the Remington 462 K11E. The 472 was a short version and the 473 was a long version. This one here is a 473, and these two tools, the Speed tool and the Remington tool, do look very similar, but there are differences. Other changes that Remington did to the tool from the Speed tool is that the receiver here is longer in the front. The barrel is one piece, machined out of bar stock, while the chamber of the Speed Fastener barrel is a separate unit that is threaded into the barrel and then staked in position. And you can see, maybe you can't see, that one's a little loose, but there's the line where the two parts, right there, that's where the two parts come together, and there's a roll pin that keeps it from unthreading. Inside the tool, the extractor was beefed up to keep it from breaking, and the firing pin was redesigned so that it wouldn't damage the breech block anymore. This particular tool that I have here was another basket case. Most of the parts came out of the same basket as the Ammo Model K tools that I showed a few months ago. And some of the high wear parts, though, are new that I picked up along the line. And they are from after the 482 came out and replaced the tool. Remington had the foresight to make the parts interchangeable with the old tools. Here's a neat little trick here. On the Speed Fastener tool, the reset pin has a tang on it that sticks out. So if it gets stuck, which they do from time to time, you can grab it with a pair of pliers. On this tool, the reset pin is inside. Doesn't have that tang, but you can remove the handle bolt, any of them that you'd like, thread it into the reset pin. There are threads in there, and then you can use your pair of pliers to pull it out. Remington wasn't the only company to do this. Several companies did that, but it was still a neat little trick. The barrel, as you can see, it's one piece. The nose piece still lacks any buffer overdrive system. This is a piston that dates from a 482, not an original 473 piston. It has a counterbore in the top, concave in the top. The original pistons were flat, and they are big enough to drive a 3/8 inch pin, just like the Speed Fastener tool. Now, I didn't put a buffer system in it. Here's a short Speed Fastener nose piece that dates from about the same time as this tool. You can see that Remington did put a larger chamfer in there in an attempt to keep the threads from being damaged. It's probably partially successful, but since they went into a buffer system in the 482, I'd say it wasn't very effective, or at least they felt that they did have to change it eventually. The Beto tool does not have a buffer in it, but they did take some measures to protect the threads should overdrive occur. First off, they moved the threads farther down the nose piece, giving it this large shoulder right here. There's also a very large and deep taper in there. The piston has a matching taper, and the idea would be to absorb all the excess energy inside this shoulder right here and keep it away from the threads. How effective it is, I don't know, but it's definitely better than nothing. So here's the back of the Speed Fastener tool on your right. The Beto tool is on the left. The back of the tool, the firing pin mechanism. They are very, very similar, as you can tell. The springs are similar, the sears are definitely different. The firing pins are different, but originally the Speed Fastener tool had the firing pin like this one. They changed it to that. And here's the two extractors from the tools. This is the Speed Fastener extractor on the right, the Beto on the left. And what's interesting about this, you can see how thin the Speed Fastener is, and it would break right there. But this is very similar to the Remington, which came later than the Speed Fastener extractor. So it makes me wonder if either Beto had originally made it like this and Speed changed it to this design, or Beto liked the Remington extractor because it worked better, didn't break, and adapted it to their tool. So that pretty much sums it up for the Beto 691 22 caliber low velocity tool. Other than one thing that pertains to all three of these tools, the Speed and Remington and the Beto, because the loading chamber is off to the side here, it makes it a lot easier to hold in your right hand and load it with your left than it does to hold it in your left hand and load it with your right. You have to tilt the tool. Minor issue, but it kind of makes these tools right-handed tools. That pretty much sums it up for Beto.